Good morning, guys. It's been a little bit since I did a video, seeing as it's the off season, so figured this was a good opportunity to touch base with you guys, kind of see what's going on during the off season. So I was doing a little predator control this morning. We're on a rural property here, so coyotes tend to be a bit of an issue. And I know there's a lot of people that, because coyotes are dogs, essentially. So there's people that feel strongly about, letting them be to do their thing. They were here first, etc., etc. Now, one of the big points I'm going to make is that they were not here first in this particular area. They've only been here for about 100 years. And then closer to the city you get, they've actually only been there for about 70 or 80 years. So they actually followed European settlers out here because they realized that we're messy, we're wasteful, and we're good for an easy meal. So they followed us out here, and they're very adaptable, so they've done very well. So now, in a lot of areas, we have numbers that have exploded. And one of the things we have around here is we have 2 very large packs. So we gotta keep the numbers in check here and there. Now, they're good for balance. I like having them around. They keep the rat population down. They keep the rabbit population down. They've got an important place in the food chain and the ecosystem. But again, they're not natural for this ecosystem. But they're a handy tool to have. But again, because essentially we introduced them here because we're the reason they're here, we also have to kind of keep those numbers manageable. So the kind of rule I've come up with is when they're out in the back fields, foraging on rabbits and rats, they're on their own, they can do their own thing. Down here, they don't really put a hit on the deer population. So I'm not too worried about impact on ungulates down here. But where I do draw the line is when they start coming up into the horse corrals, the pastures up front, the house. We've had a few this year that have been in the backyard, which is where this one was this morning. So this particular one I've already chased off a couple times in the last 2 weeks. Clearly hasn't quite gotten the message, so there's only so many times I'm going to repeat myself. So this morning I followed him out because obviously I can't shoot him up by the house. So followed him out until we were way out in one of the back fields here and just kind of preemptively predicted the route he was going to take and set up for him, waited for him, and then took this one out. But really the only 2 things that'll get coyotes shot around here is if they're mangy, because that's not a pleasant existence for them. They're just going to spread it to the rest of the population. They can spread it to the dogs. So the more humane thing to do is if we see any that seem to have manges, they get taken out of the population. And the other thing will be if they get up around the house. We've had them take out fowl that we had. We had goose 2 years ago that they dug in under the coop and took out. So we've had some issues with them, especially right now. They're hyper aggressive because it is breeding season for them, so you really got to watch them. We do have dogs that they've tried to put the run on a couple times, and they've tried to bait out a few times, and the dogs were out this morning. And we've also got young kids. We've got a young boy and then a toddler, and it's happened before where we've had them playing in the backyard and we've had one roll in. So it's in my best interest to make sure I stay on top of this, and it's twofold. It keeps my livestock, my family, my investment here safe, but it also keeps the population healthier as a result. So predator management, I know, is a bit of a contentious issue, but there are reasons for it. And when it comes to conservation, when it comes to being a responsible steward of the land, predator control is one of the things that we do have to take into account. And, we have adjusted the environment and the ecosystem So it is our responsibility to a degree to maintain it and to stay on top of stuff like this. We've made it easier for predators to get around, you know, especially when you get up into the interior. All the access roads that we've put through make movement for, you know, packs of wolves a lot easier than it might have been, you know, 20, 30, 40 years ago. So that's putting a big hit on the ungulate populations. So predator management is an important conservation tool. I know it sounds counterproductive to some people when you're saying conservation, that involves killing some animals. But when you look at the bigger picture, to keep a healthy population, to keep that, and yes, you know, some people argue that the environment will balance itself, which it will, but I mean, it's not a quick process. It's also not a painless process. You know, it balances itself by starvation and disease. When the carrying capacity exceeds what the ecosystem can manage, then certain animals start to die off, which, you know, only happens in the wild through starvation, predation, and disease. Those are the only three ways animals are going to die. You know, they don't die quiet deaths of old age. It just doesn't work that way in nature. It's an important tool we need to keep and maintain, and we need to, you know, stay realistic about why it is a tool that's needed. So thanks for coming to my TED Talk. So it's a very healthy female, which is a good one to take out of the population, especially during breeding season. So, and she's got a very distinctive kind of a white throat patch here. So this is how I know that I've seen her more than a few times close to the house and up in the corrals there. She definitely stands out. So unfortunately, from a responsible conservation point, it was time for her to vacate the population. So it is what it is. But, you know, we try and be reasonable and selective about which ones we do harvest. So, like I said, unfortunately it was her time to go, but it'll keep the population healthy and also keep them out of conflict with livestock and residents up here. But yeah, that's how this morning's going. I hope your guys' off season is going well. There are a few areas that are open right now. Waterfowl just closed up. They will open up again. Geese will open up for a late opening. That'll tie us up for a couple weeks, and then we'll be rolling into spring bear, which will be kind of the big push in the spring. So hopefully you guys are wintering well. You had great holidays, and we will touch base soon. I'll also be putting out a 3-part series on how to hunt for new hunters with a whole bunch of information. I did reach out to the hunting community here in BC. We did get a bunch of feedback on things that would be useful, and hopefully we'll be able to put something together for you guys that is going to help you kind of figure the basics out and make your hunting season more successful and go smoother. So that'll hopefully be out. I'm going to try and get the first one out in the next 2-3 weeks here. It'll definitely all be out before spring bear, but I'm going to try and get the first one out in the next 2 or 3 weeks here. We'll tackle 2 to 3 topics per video. I'm thinking it'll be an hour long total, but I'll split it up into 3 videos. So it'll be, you know, 3 20-minute videos, or I may do 4 15-minute videos, depending on how I can break that up. But just keep it short enough that you guys can, you know, you're not dedicating a ton of time to it. I get time is precious, especially this time of year. So we'll get that out to you guys, and yeah, I think that's it for right now. We're gonna try and get a draw in before spring bear as well, so stay tuned for that. We'll get you guys some free swag, and that's it for now.